Hi, it's Alex Counts again. In previous videos, I've taken you through some of the early steps of cultivating a major gift in terms of the first meeting, how to conduct it, how to prepare for it, and then the cultivation process. How do you kind of court a donor before you make the ask? Now I want to talk about making the ask, the solicitation process. And this will be followed by the stewardship process, which I'll explain in another video. First of all, you want to think about who do you want to have with you. Maybe you want to have your development officer who is the relationship manager for this person. Maybe you want to have a board member or another donor, someone who their presence will make it even more likely that the person will say yes. Someone who is maybe already, someone they respect, someone who's already stepped up financially themselves. And then you want to plan with whoever's going to be in the room so you know how it's going to go, everyone's on the same page. Now you want to book the appointment. The person who taught me major gifts suggested that when you book that appointment, you actually tell them that you're coming to discuss their financial stewardship of your organization. I often don't do that, but whatever your choice is, your preferences, you get to the meeting, and one thing you don't do is to kind of put off the ask to the very end of the meeting. As one of my mentors said about speech making, and this is applied to fundraising, start with the conclusion if you're giving a speech. And in this context, it means start with the ask with a specific dollar amount. Put it out there in the first 5 minutes of the meeting. Some people recommend, others say maybe in the first third of the meeting. Why do that? First of all, if you put it out there early on, you show you're serious, you have a conviction that you really want to have a discussion about whether they can do this or not. And if you leave it to the end, if they say no or maybe and they have questions or they want to go in a different direction with their donation, you have little time to discuss it. So rather than making the argument, building up to the argument and the proposal, start with the proposal. They're probably expecting it. When you get to that point, and when you make the ask, don't change your tone of voice or your whole demeanor if you can. Be conversational. And when you describe what you want, maybe it's very simple, maybe it's kind of complicated and you need to take some time to outline what you want, is that you show in what you're asking for and how you want to be a steward of their donation if they choose to make it, that you've really heard all the things they've told you during the first meeting in the cultivation process, the parts of the organization they're most excited about, what kind of recognition they want or don't want. All those things, that this isn't a generic kind of paint by numbers ask. This has really been crafted based on what they've told you. That will influence how they feel and how they feel about the partnership and relationship going forward. So you've made the ask. Then it's very important, and remember this, to just be quiet. They may need some time to think about how they respond. Maybe it's a lot more, a lot less, or in some way different than they expected. Don't try to fill that, what might feel like an awkward silence, with some sort of yammering on. It might take 10, 15 seconds, even longer sometimes. And then let them say what they have to say. Maybe they're going to tell you, no, this is not what I want to fund. In which case, since you've put it out there in the first third of the meeting, the first 5 minutes even, you have the rest of the meeting to explore what they might want to fund. Maybe you misread something in the cultivation process and the get to know you process. Now is the time that you can hear more, so you can come back maybe in a month with a different proposal. In some way, the amount, the use, the stewardship, the timeline. I also, when I make the ask, I often don't talk about the time frame for paying it off. I just stick with the purpose and the number. The time frame for paying the grant is something you negotiate, but you want to see if you can get to a point fairly quickly where they agree in principle to give you $1,000 or $1 million or whatever for a specific use, and then you work out the details after the fact once it's been agreed to in principle. Now, they may not agree in the meeting. They may want to consult with family members. That's very common. That's not necessarily a bad sign. And then you get to the end of the meeting. Whatever has happened, whether they've said yes, no, maybe, want to think it over, you summarize it so you make sure there's a common understanding of what has happened. You thank them for the time and the interest in the organization. Make sure that every person as part of your team has a role to play, so the thanking the donor at the end might go to someone else, even if you're kind of taking the lead. And then you go back and make careful notes about what happened. Be clear who's to do the follow-up, and if a gift is in the works, then you can start to work on the stewardship plan, which I'll describe in another video. Good luck. It can be a lot of fun. It can be enormously satisfying when you secure a gift, and even if you don't, oftentimes you learn a lot about the fundraising process and about your donor that'll help you in the future be even more successful.